Hi, good morning if you're joining me here in West Africa, and good day if you're joining me in any other part of the world. My name is Blessing Ingyape. You can call me the Dyslexia Coach, and I welcome you again to 30 minutes of Dyslexia with Blessing Ingyape. So if you're live with me, let me know where you are connecting with me from. Thank you, Mr. Alex. Thank you, Ms. Doshima. Welcome. Mr. Alex, you're always looking for a drink. But thank God right now is a cup of coffee you're looking for, not something else. Welcome everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you're joining us on YouTube, thank you for being here. Join us on Facebook, thank you for being here. So we're still talking about homeschooling because the truth, like I keep saying, is that as educators, as parents, we need to get ready for whatever it is that is coming ahead. Because right now we don't even know what is coming ahead. You know, you hear pandemic here today, you hear lockdown here tomorrow, and all of that. So, as a parent or as an educator, it's important that you develop yourself or you have strategies in place that can help your child. And when we talk about homeschooling, we're not just talking about parents. Yes, educators have a big role to play here too. As a matter of fact, it's also an opportunity for educators to diversify. Okay, and we're going to be talking more about that. So we're going to be looking at frequently asked questions. And I've written them down here so I don't forget. Remember, this is just 30 minutes. So I try as much as possible to put my thoughts down so I don't shoot beyond 30 minutes. So one of the frequently asked questions by parents is that why homeschooling my child? Does it mean that I have to be the teacher? Because usually when you hear about homeschooling, the only thing you're thinking about is a parent teaching their child. But no, that's not all to homeschooling. Your child can be homeschooled and not be taught by you. Most parents that I know who during this pandemic decided to homeschool their kids are not the ones teaching their kids. They have actually employed the services of other educators that can come in and homeschool their children. I know about 3 teachers who are doing this. So you can see why you're sitting down saying there is no job, because this period is that period where I get to start a new batch of training, the dyslexia course. And during this period, you hear a lot of educators talk to you about how they don't have money. They really wish they can register for this course, but don't have enough money, no job. Why there are jobs? Yes, the pandemic came with with its troubles, but at the same time, it also came with opportunities. So if you develop yourself as a homeschooler who is able to effectively teach kids at home, then you have an edge. Because a lot of parents who are not comfortable with kids resuming back to school are looking for services of teachers who can homeschool their children. So when you talk about homeschooling, no, it's not just the parents. You can also employ the services of an educator to homeschool your child. And yes, I know people, educators who are doing that right now. I know like 3 of them who are offering homeschool services for children at home. So if you have questions too, please feel free to drop them down. And also you can discuss in the comment section. Will you homeschool your child? And why would you want to homeschool your child? I know Ms. Doshima had mentioned earlier that she is going to homeschool her children. So why would you want to homeschool your child? And if no, why? Let us know. And then number 2, is homeschooling legal? People ask that question. Is homeschooling legal? Of course it is. And when you talk about homeschooling in other parts of the world, let's use the US for example, it is legal and every state has their rules. So now it depends on the state that you are in. They have their laws. Now, when you come to Nigeria, to our hometown, let me just talk a bit about what came to my mind. If you watch some of these skits, especially the one Lasisi does. You know, there's that place where they just shout, "Welcome to our hometown." Why are you running? Why are you running? So when I just spoke about here in Nigeria, that played in my head, and I just had to share it with you. Of course, if you're not Nigerian and you don't watch his kids, you will not really understand what I'm talking about. But if you do, I'm sure you caught the joke. So is homeschooling legal? Yes, it is. The truth is that you're not going to have anyone come and harassing you for homeschooling your child. You're not going to have the government come harassing you for homeschooling your child. So it's totally legal for you to homeschool your child. Now, the only thing you have to ensure is that you need to ensure that your children or your students write all the external exams in the country. Like, for primary school, they write the common entrance. So you need to ensure that you educate your child to that level where they can write their common entrance. And then after common entrance, you have the junior WAEC or NECO. So you have to ensure that you educate your child to the point where they can successfully write the junior WAEC and NECO. And then from there, you have the senior WAEC and NECO. You have the JAM, you have all of those exams. So just ensure that your child doesn't miss out on this. And it's also easy. You can cooperate with schools. Yeah, you can talk to schools that, look, I'm homeschooling my child, but during the external exams, I'm going to register my child in your school. Most schools, which is just that most schools, of course, will expect you to pay the exam, the fee for the third term or for the year. Different schools have different rules. So it depends on the school you want your child to write their external exams in and what their demands are. Uh, Mr. Alex, you're asking Miss Doshima if she wants to homeschool all her children. When you say all, how many do you even think she wants to have? And this means that you obviously aren't thinking of homeschooling your kids, right, Mr. Alex? So number three, how much time does it take? So homeschooling your children, how much time does it take? Lot of time. Let's not even play with words when it comes to that, because it will take your time, lots of it. But of course, it doesn't have to be like the school time. The good thing with homeschooling is that it can be flexible. Okay, you can decide to have it in the morning, you can decide to have it in the evening, and depending on how long you want the term to last. Now, being flexible means you can break curriculum that should be taught in a term into 2 terms. Okay, you can be flexible. So you can decide to have 3 hours daily with your child. You can decide to have 4 hours. You can decide to have, excuse me, let me get water. You can decide to have more time. Okay, depending on whatever works for you. So now, yes, they need to realize that it's going to take a lot of time. Okay, it's going to take a lot of time, because it's not just about when you're coming to teach. It also has to do with the planning. The planning, the scheduling, preparing lesson plans, all of those things that teachers do. Takes a lot of time. So homeschooling is not just the act at that point where you're teaching your child. It is also all of the preparations involved, getting the curriculum, uh, the lesson plan, the learning resources, and all of that. So it takes time. So how can we teach several children at once? So for Doshima that is planning to homeschool all her kids, and Mr. Alex is wondering why, is wondering how to homeschool all her kids. So for instance, maybe you have 2 or 3 kids and you want to homeschool them, you can. There is something called differentiation. Okay, so all you need to do is just create a curriculum for the different kids. And you can also have the class at the same time, okay? While you're teaching this child on their level, a preschooler on their level, you're teaching the elementary child on their level. Okay, you're multitasking, let's call it that way, that will work. So it's not just about homeschooling only one child. You can homeschool several kids. You just need to learn how to work with the same kids on different levels. And this is why training is also very important. So if you're working with a teacher, you might not necessarily need all of these trainings we're talking about, because a teacher should be, a specialized teacher should be able to handle this. But then, if you're a parent and you've not been into the educational world before, then it is important that you get some kind of training, okay, about differentiation, about teaching, and all of that. And thank God for the internet and YouTube. They are there for you to learn for free. And if you want someone who can hold your hands through it, then let me know, because I'm connected to lots of parents and a lot of professionals who homeschool their children. And I'm sure they will have something for you, a course for you that you can take that will help you. So another question is, okay, so Ms. Doshima says she's planning to have 2 kids. Okay, Mr. Alex, how many kids are you planning to have? 10? So number 5, won't my kids miss out on socialization? That's another question that parents ask. Now, okay, I'm going to be homeschooling my child at home now. Won't my child miss out on socialization, being with the other kids and all of that? You know, why doing all of this homeschooling thing, I've been doing lots and lots of research. And one thing I've come to learn that parents always say, parents who homeschool their kids always says that after a year or so of homeschooling your child, you'll be wondering why you were even fussing about socialization. You'll be wondering that why did I even think that was going to be a problem? Because we have grown up with kids of the same age being together always, we have automatically believed that to be normal. But no, that is not normal at all. Okay, a normal group should be a multi-age group. It means that your children should spend time with their peers, but should also spend time with people who are older than them. So you're spending time with your peers, you're spending time with people who are younger than you, and you're spending time with people who are older than you. And what we see happen most times in school settings is that these children spend the most of the time with just their peers. Because by the time they get home, especially now with kids getting home by 5 or 6 p.m., the next thing is to eat and then have a bath. So you can see that they are spending time with just their peers, and that is not exactly good. So yes, I mentioned that, and there are also a lot of things that kids pick up in school, a lot of negative behaviors that kids pick up in school. So when you talk about socialization and tutoring your kids at home, it means you now have the liberty, to discipline your kids and in imbibe the values that you hold in high esteem into their lives. I've also, while studying on homeschooling and reading stories of parents, one of the parents said that she decided to homeschool their kids because while in school, while in the university, there was this student who joined them who has been homeschooled right from preschool to secondary level. And it was from secondary level that he moved to the university, and his self-confidence was top notch. Like he was so different from all of them. So there's always that difference. There are a lot of things that happen in school that parents don't really know. From abusing your kids, of course, that can happen in some families too, but we're focusing on schools now. From your kids being abused, from them being bullied, from them having low self-esteem. You can't see me. Who can see me? I'm seeing myself. I think how StreamYard works is that if the network goes off, it keeps rolling on my screen. But right now I can see myself. So, but let me get another witness. Is that the word? If you can see me, let me know. Mr. Alex wants to have 3 kids. That's what they always say at the beginning. So let me know if you can still see me or not. So you have the opportunity of self-disciplining your kids, and you also have the opportunity of imbibing in them the values you want to. Okay, and with that, you're raising confident kids. Of course, some schools are actually better off than homes. Okay, yeah, so Miss Veshima, that is your network. Refresh, refresh, refresh. So don't worry about socialization. And then you can also do play dates. That works. Play dates. In other socialization, could be in church, ensuring that your kids enjoy the children's church, having play dates with families, visiting their nieces and nephews during holidays and all of that. That will suffice. So what other question do we have here? How about external exams? Yes, I mentioned this earlier. Okay, Doshima, glad to know that you can see me. I mentioned that earlier. You can liaise with schools, and we have schools who accept kids for external exams. Of course, just ensure that your child is well prepared for it. So remember that while you're homeschooling your child, it's not what you want to teach your child. Okay, there are textbooks, curriculum. Like I said, it's very easy to get a curriculum if you're in Nigeria from the Ministry of Education. Yes, and that moves me to the next question, which talks about what materials are available. Yes, you have your textbooks that are available that you can use. You have curriculum that is available, the Ministry of Education, they can also purchase and use. So those materials should suffice. Those materials will lead you towards the things that your child should be learning in grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4. And then, of course, other creative websites online will also help you. Remember, you're teaching a child with dyslexia, so it is important that you make the teaching multisensory. So yes, you have the textbook that leads you, that shows you what you're meant to teach these kids. But then as an educator, as a parent who is homeschooling them, you need to look for creative ways to teach that same lesson. You need to teach it better than the way to be taught in a classroom full of other kids. So yes, and also when I was talking about educators homeschooling your child, remember we're talking about a child with dyslexia. So you need to get a specialist. Homeschooling is not lesson. So don't go and get a lesson teacher. Okay? Get someone who is a specialist. Because when it comes to a full intervention for children with dyslexia, uh, a full intervention usually also includes all of these other basics. They get to learn uh, other things like shapes, not just reading, mathematics, and all of the other things. So a full special needs intervention, a full dyslexia intervention, like what the Cadet Academy offers, Dewdrop's Community Center for Special Needs, includes all of this. So your child is not just learning how to read, they are focused on a lot of other skills and goals. And what is the aim? The aim is for your child to be able to move back to school and fit in. So, for instance, if Dewdrops is working with your child and their plan is for to move your child to grade level 1, they are going to ensure that classes before grade level 1, your child is very conversant or schooled in all of those topics and all of those goals. So when your child gets to grade level 1, the child is not missing out either on computer skills, on math skills, or on other skills. So ensure that if you're not homeschooling your kids personally, you're getting a specialist. Also ensure that if you're homeschooling your child personally, you're also getting trained. Yes, and when it comes to training on dyslexia, we are here for you. Dyslexia Help Africa is here for you. We have the next batch coming up in February. If you want to know more about that and the discounts we have, then do not miss out on the training today. Okay, if you haven't registered for that training, then I think you've already missed out because registration has closed. We've already sent out the link and all of that. Nevertheless, I'm going to talk more about that at the end of this session. Okay, so another question as we round up. So, what are the possible challenges? Yes, there are going to be challenges. So I'm talking and smiling right here. I don't think there's going to be a smooth road. In fact, taking that decision is a struggle already on its own. I mean, sitting down and deciding that, you know what, I want to homeschool my child. That is even one of the biggest struggles. You know, struggling with yourself, asking yourself, am I sure I can do this? Can this work? If you're in a country like mine, you ask yourself, can this work in Nigeria? Is this possible? How far can I go? And the thing is, you can take it one step at a time, okay? You don't have to have every other thing figured out. So you can say, I want to homeschool this child who have seen some signs of dyslexia and I feel the school can help. I want to homeschool them uh, just for their preschool level, okay? And then I'll take them back to school when they move to grade level. So as you move forward, after the preschool level, you must have realized that, wow, this is something that I can do. So after that, you're going to set a higher goal for you. Okay, I'm going to take this through grade level, through elementary school. Let's see how this goes. So you can see that you started afraid and you started with just preschool, but as you move forward, your confidence developed. And from there, you took your kids through um, elementary school and then through secondary school and maybe tertiary school too. Although most people stop homeschooling at the secondary level, right? So making that decision alone has um, its struggles. It's quite a struggle to make that decision. Like Mr. Alex is yet to make that decision. He's still wondering why Miss Doshima has made that decision already. So, and then fear of being unable to work with your children. Yes, that's another fear. Again, there's going to be that challenge of, can I work with my children? Like I'm sure you've heard most parents say, especially if you're a teacher, when it comes to disciplining their kids, they're like, you know what, I can't handle this. Or when it comes to teaching their kids, yes, they're like, I can't even teach my child because I'll just end up hitting them because I'll get angry and frustrated. So it's better for someone else to do it. One, you can learn not to be like that. It is very possible. Why? Because we have people who have done it. We have parents who have done it and who are still doing it. But if you still don't trust yourself, it doesn't have to be a reason why you don't homeschool your child with dyslexia. You can bring in an educator, a special needs educator who can help. And then also a lack of self-confidence. You might be wondering, can I do this? Like I mentioned earlier, take it one step at a time. Okay, and read inspiring stories of parents who are doing this already. And then another challenge again will be time. You might, especially if you're working as a parent. I mean, coming back from your 9 to 5, planning for the lessons, teaching your child, and all of that can be very demanding. But like Stephen Parker said in his book, the book we're currently reading on Telegram, on teaching a preschooler how to read, you must make out time. And it is possible for you to make out time. You can make out time. And like I said, if you can't make out time, it shouldn't be a reason why you don't help your child with dyslexia. You can get a special needs educator who is great, so certified at teaching children with dyslexia. Then another challenge again is commitment. Yes, you need to be committed to this. You need to be committed to it. It's another thing to start, and then it's another thing to get committed. Because remember, there are schedules, you're planning lessons, you're creating materials, and unlike schools where they have a head teacher where they have to report to. You are the headmistress, the headmaster, the head teacher of your homeschool. So if you don't push yourself, who will? If you don't get the lessons ready, you don't stick to the time, you don't get the materials ready, there is nobody there who's going to give you consequences for it. So you have to talk to yourself that, you know what, I'm in for this thing for the long haul, and I'm going to be very committed to it. So you have to be committed to it. You have to be committed to it. And then social pressure. Yes, you're going to have some people who think you're crazy. Like, why do you want to homeschool your child, especially if you're in Nigeria, in Africa? They'll be like, please, 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 that kind of thing is for white people. It's for Oibo. That's what we call Americans here in Nigeria. They say that one is for Oibo. You cannot do this. You cannot homeschool your child in Nigeria. It will not work. But like I said, rather than focusing your attention on people who are saying it can't work, look for a community of people who are making it work. There are communities of parents who are making it work. And homeschooling is not just for moms, because this book we're reading by Stephen Parker, he homeschooled his children, of course, with the help of the parents, but he was majorly the one, and he's a dad. So it's not just about a mommy thing. Mr. Alex, take note. Yeah, exactly what they say. They're like, my child doesn't even listen to me, so let the teachers deal with it. Especially that's a teacher speaking. That's what most parents say. So, but you can. Your child should listen to you. All right, your child should listen to you. So don't bother about the social pressure. Just spend time with people who fire you up. And if you have a child with dyslexia, there has to be at least a form of homeschooling or a form of extra intervention, because what your child receives in school alone is not enough. If you have a child who is struggling with learning, what your child is receiving in school is not enough. And if your child's school say they are offering help, I really need you to check and be sure what kind of help they are offering, because some schools are not offering the right help. That's why I always say that as a parent, if you have a child who is dyslexic, get trained. Even if you don't have the time to teach your child, get trained, because it's going to help you to know the kind of services that your children should receive. I have a parent who we are currently working with her child who got trained. And while she was looking for a school for her child, she went to the school and she told them that, okay, this is my child's condition. And they were like, oh, of course, we offer help for children with dyslexia. And she began to ask them questions. What kind of help do you offer? What is dyslexia? What are accommodations? And the school could not answer any of those questions. And she didn't have to waste her time there. While on the other hand, I have a parent who took her child to a school, had paid for everything, and I'm currently working hand in hand with the shadower, and we're talking about how the child is not receiving the services that the child needs. And it's just 3 days into the intervention, and the mom is already thinking of pulling the child out. First, of course, there's no refund. If she was more taught and understood the need that the child is, she would have asked more questions, direct questions that will help in the services that the child receives. So if you have a child who is struggling in one way or the other, even if you're not planning on homeschooling that child, you should get the necessary training and get a specialist who can help at home. All right, thank you for joining me. Our time is up. Okay, thank you. Well done, Miss Blessing. Very informative. Even though my daughter is autistic, I can apply some of your tips. For now, she's been homeschooled because of the times we live in COVID. Yes, like I said, in these times that we're living in, it is very, very, very important that you learn, how to homeschool your child. Just in case, just imagine, see, parents who were homeschooling their kids were not on lockdown. Hope you know that. As a matter of fact, they had more time to teach their kids. So you shouldn't be limited. Okay. And if you have a child with special needs, you realize that if they stay off intervention for a very long time, they lost a lot of things that they have learned. So some of these kids that came back without receiving intervention during the lockdown went way back. This doesn't have to be your case again. Get yourself trained, get the necessary help, okay? So that you can always help your child. Thank you for joining me. So this evening we have a training that talks about what dyslexia is. Okay, we want as many people as possible to know what dyslexia is and to know how they can help children with dyslexia. So you don't have to be an educator before you can help. As a parent, as an educator, as a regular person in the society, you can help and you can create awareness. We're having this training today and it is free. And during this training, we're going to be giving out discounts, which will last for a particular time on the intensive training we're having. Okay, we are starting the next batch in February. We're rounding up with the previous batch, and we're starting the new batch. I am super excited about these batches we've had so far. I mean, Ms. Doshima is a beneficiary of our first training, and look at the amazing work she's doing. Mr. Alex, who is here, also is a beneficiary of our training, and I love it the more when we have parents come on board. I mean, you have parents getting trained, knowing how to help their kids, asking, relevant questions. I mean, just being schooled. I have parents who also ask me questions when we are tutoring their kids, and they're like, "Oh, Miss Blessing, you didn't do this." I'm like, "Oh, sorry. Thank you for reminding me." That is the kind of parent you should be if you have children with learning issues, dyslexia, or any other issue. Okay? All right. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for those who chatted. Thank you, Mr. Alex. Thank you, Mr. Oshima. And then for the other people, I can't see your name because you didn't click on that link that says you should click for StreamYard to give you permission. So I didn't get your name. But just so I can get your name next time after I end this live show, there's a StreamYard link just above this message. If you're on Facebook, that talks to you, that tells you how to give StreamYard the permission to show me your name so that I can acknowledge you and we can have a better conversation. All right, so I'll see you next week. Have an amazing weekend. Goodbye.